Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today I'm going to be reacting to Chris Simms' quarterback draft prospect rankings for the 2026 NFL Draft. Simms is known as one of the more controversial draft voices out there because, frankly, he doesn't usually go with the consensus picks, and that is certainly the case with his quarterback top 5 this year. I'm going to be reacting to it here on today's show. But before we get into Simms' picks at the quarterback spot with the guys coming into the draft this year, make sure you guys click that subscribe button for the best Steelers draft content you can find here on YouTube. In-depth prospect analysis like we're giving you guys today with the quarterback position, positional rankings. Not only do I react to other people's rankings, but I give my own. Haven't finalized every single quarterback yet in terms of the film watching, so once I do that, I will provide my personal quarterback rankings a little bit down the line here. But we got pre-draft visit trackers for all the players that the Steelers are meeting with and bringing in for visits this year. We have a weekly 7-round mock draft that goes out on the weekends for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then all that content is 100% free. So if you love the Pittsburgh Steelers and you love the NFL Draft, this is the perfect channel for you. Click that subscribe button and join the largest individually run Steelers news program anywhere here on YouTube. Now, before we start with today's show, guys, I want to make crystal clear that I do not necessarily agree with Simms' rankings, all right? So I don't want to see anybody down in the chat saying, oh, Sperry thinks this guy is that or anything like that. This video is not an endorsement, all right? This is a video for me to, and for us to look at his rankings and for me to share my take on where he has some of these quarterbacks ranked in this year's NFL Draft, okay? But here's what I will say, and the thing that I do respect about Chris Simms is that he does watch the film, number one, and number two, he does come to his own opinions. Now, most of the time, I don't agree with his opinion, all right, because as somebody else that also watches the film, I think some of the he usually only watches like one game of somebody, which I think is usually pretty lazy, and it can tell an incomplete picture on a quarterback or a receiver or a running back. And I think because he does that little research on all these guys, it's why you see some of the skews from the consensus versus what he brings to the table. But just keep in mind that Chris does watch the film. He is a former NFL quarterback, so he does know ball, and he does come to his own opinions. So it's always interesting to see, which players he has higher than consensus. But his number one quarterback is everybody's number one quarterback, maybe outside of Dan Orlovsky this year. And that's Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. And, Mendoza's not a perfect prospect. Simms really, really likes him. But, I think that Mendoza has a lot of great stuff in his profile. I think he's a legitimate round one quarterback. And I think at the end of the process here, he's likely going to end up being my number one quarterback this year. And then Chris Simms, starts his tier 2 with the next quarterback here. Mendoza's in a tier of his own. But at QB2, tier 2, he's got Ty Simpson out of Alabama. And honestly, I think Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza very close together prospects in terms of the overall grade. Now, I think Simpson, operated a pro-style offense, has more NFL-level downfield throws on his film. I think that, he's shown on film a better, full-field progression type of skill set on the film at Alabama versus what Mendoza did at Indiana. But Mendoza has the better frame, more durable, more experienced. Obviously, he showed up at the end of the season, whereas Simpson fell off towards the end of the season, even though I think Simpson has a pretty decent excuse with the injuries and stuff like that. But even then, can Ty Simpson, who couldn't even make it through an entire college football season, make it through in a 17-game NFL schedule in the AFC North, if we're going to talk about him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers? I just don't know. Like, there are legitimate concerns with Ty Simpson, but, I do think that, there's not a whole tier difference between these two guys. I think they're both legitimate round one grades, and that's where I would be personally with these two QBs at the top of this year's NFL Draft. But then Simms' pick at number 3 is really where he started to turn heads here, and his picks at 3 and 4 are way off of consensus. And by way off consensus, I mean these guys are not even expected to be drafted according to the consensus big board right now. So we'll get into those two names here in the second half of today's video. But let me know who your QB3 in this year's class is, because everyone seems to agree Mendoza's number 1, Simpson's number 2. I think that's pretty well established at this point. But there's a lot of debate in terms of who should be the third quarterback taken in this year's class. Who do you guys think that guy is? Let me know down there in the comments section. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about a great opportunity to get some awesome merch from us here at Steelers Talk. But while I let you know about that opportunity, let me know who you think QB3 in this year's draft class is right now. Now, you guys can check out our website right now, chatsports.com/FRavens. If you hate the Baltimore Ravens, you want to show it, and you want a t-shirt that shows that hatred for the dreaded Ratbirds, I think this t-shirt is perfect to wear at Latrobe, at training camp. I think it's perfect to watch. Or perfect to wear around the house. I think it's perfect to wear, the Steelers game day if you go to Steelers versus Ravens at Acrisure Stadium. So go chatsports.com/FRavens to pick up your t-shirt today. I greatly appreciate your guys' support. So now at Tier 3, QB3, Chris Simms has Texas Tech quarterback Behren Morton as his number 3 quarterback in this year's class. And now Chris obviously had a lot to say about this one because this one is definitely the pick from his list that really turned the most heads. This is Simms's rationale for why Behren Morton is his number 3 quarterback in this year's draft class. In a year where not a lot of guys are going to jump out at you, I made statements to start here to go, it's not the best class ever. But Behren Morton, to me, is one of those guys out there that I look at and go, I think he has a chance to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. First off, he's a really natural thrower. I love his motion. And then he really has good mechanics on it too. He always keeps a great base. He's a gunslinger. He pushes the ball down the field with ease and throws it really well on the run. We're not drafting the team and the offense. We're drafting the player here. Texas Tech's offense stinks. It's arguably one of the worst offenses out of all of the quarterbacks I watched. Only Drew Allar can sit here and go, I was in a worse position. The Texas Tech receivers don't separate much. There's times where he made some gunslinger stupid mistakes and threw some interceptions, but I love the fact that he played through a broken leg this year. So definitely a spicy take here, but I will point out that Simms isn't the only one getting on the Behren Morton train. Todd McShay, who is obviously one of the top NFL draft analysts out there in the NFL draft space, also says that he is quote-unquote pounding the table for a team to draft Behren Morton and has him a lot higher than a lot of other people out there on his quarterback rankings. This is what Todd McShay has to say about the Red Raider gunslinger. The more I watch of Morton, the more he fits what the league is. There's about an 8% chance that you're going to get a multi-year starter out of a day 2 pick at quarterback. If I'm going to spend that pick, I want one of 2 things. One, a guy that has a lot of upside that can develop, and at worst, I can get some trade value out of him, Joe Milton. Or the other thing is I want to bring in a guy who's got the absolute understanding of the game, very experienced, loves it, character, tough guy, all those things to upgrade our room on the whole. When I look at Behren Morton, I think efficiency. He missed some games because of the fibula fracture, but it's not like a long-term durability concern or something degenerative. This guy's got something to him from the toughness that you look for at the position, and there's a reason why that team, he kind of galvanized it, talking about the Red Raiders last year. I see how quick the ball comes out, how accurate he is on certain throws. Now, guys, I'm going to say this. After Chris Simms put out this list, and I had not watched Behren Morton to that point because he's currently ranked like 320th on the consensus big board. I was like, there's just no way. So it really intrigued me, and I watched through the first half of the games of the Texas Tech Red Raider season last year, really before he got majorly injured. And I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of stuff there that intrigues me. Now, there's obviously a lot of things on there that worry you as well. I'm not saying you're taking him in round 1, but I do agree with Chris Simms that he does have a lot of arm talent. He can throw from multiple different arm angles. I think he does have a strong NFL arm. I wouldn't call it a bazooka, but it is one that he can push the ball down the field into tight windows. And he was right. That Texas Tech offense stunk, and their receivers really struggled to separate, particularly in that playoff game against Oregon, where that Oregon Ducks secondary just completely blanketed everybody on practically every single play. But I do like his throwing mechanics. He's got that rotational type of throwing mechanics that you want to see, that you see from the top throwers in the game today. He does have good mental processing flashes where he will go through a full field progression read and get to his 3rd or 4th read at the back end of the progression. That was really promising for somebody that's expected to go on day 3. You don't see that very often. The pocket footwork, I think, was pretty decent. He does play with some pretty decent base underneath of him. And the downfield accuracy, like some of the throws that he made last year, even with the fibula leg injury, like he was still dropping some dimes down the field, down the sideline, some legitimate NFL caliber throws. Now, the things that I'll say, the cons are I don't love his pocket presence. He doesn't sense pressure, okay? Like this guy took some massive hits where like there's a guy coming right down, he's going to hit him super hard and it's so obvious he's coming right at him, and like he just stands in the pocket and throws and takes a giant shot when he should have stepped up in the pocket or, sidestepped or something like that. Like this is somebody that, I don't think really senses the rush all that well, which kind of reminds me a little bit of like Daniel Jones. Like Daniel Jones, that's the first thing I think of a quarterback like this, where he's just standing there in the pocket and he's just a dead duck back there. He's not really moving in the pocket. Then also the gunslinger mentality gets him into trouble more than once, right? Now I understand, that you're trying to push the ball down the field and you don't have a lot of open receivers, but like there's a number of, questionable decisions from Behren Morton on his Texas Tech film. But I would say an early day 3 pick is something that I would consider for Behren Morton, especially if you can get him like in round 6 or round 7, like late day 3. I think it's definitely worth a flyer with this kid that has supernatural, throwing mechanics. He does show flashes of really good mental processing and can make some awesome throws down the field. If Pittsburgh goes quarterback on day 3, which is looking, I would say, more and more likely, I think Morton is certainly going to be in the mix with guys like Drew Allar and, Carson Beck and Cole Payton and all these guys that they're looking at. Especially if you go quarterback in round 6 or round 7, like you did last year with Will Howard, you bring in Morton to compete with Will Howard in camp for that QB3 spot and kind of let the best man win. Like I think that's something that's absolutely in the cards for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think Morton, certainly has some of the better arm talent of some of the top quarterbacks in this class. It's just he's got multiple things he needs to clean up. And the injury thing is not something that is particularly great. I do worry a little bit about that. But now we move on to Chris Simms's QB4 of this year's NFL QB class, which is Joey Aguilar from Tennessee, who is ranked even lower than Behren Morton on the consensus big board. I think he ranks like 370 or 70-something. Like he's like way off the consensus big board in terms of draftable prospects. This is why Simms likes him. Joey Aguilar has starting quarterback traits, so I start there. Plays big and tough in the pocket, always got a good base under him, moves well, has real good feel with the pass rush, good feet, he's quick, can avoid rushers, all that. His motion, I like it, I don't love it. Now there's no denying the power in the kid's arm, but he's got the physical ability to be that high-level thrower. And he went on to say with some coaching, and if he could become a more rotational passer, he could be a better QB prospect. But this one, guys, I was kind of impressed with the Behren Morton one because I hadn't watched him, and I didn't think I was going to see another quarterback that, I would have a draftable grade on, but good for Chris Simms. I think Behren Morton is a draftable prospect at quarterback. With Joey Aguilar, I'm not sure if I can get there, man. The accuracy is all over the place with a guy like Joey Aguilar, and he's already 25 years old. Also ran a super gimmicky offense at Tennessee, so I just don't know if he's going to be somebody that can come in and play a pro-style offense. Now, last year, there's a 25-year-old quarterback prospect in Tyler Shuck that I thought was incredibly pro-ready. He played in a pro-style offense at Louisville, operated it pretty darn well, and he had some really awesome arm talent. Like Joey Aguilar doesn't have any of those positives, in my opinion, and he's the same age, so he's going to have to be, asked to come in and really be pretty darn good right away if he's going to stick on an NFL roster. And, I think Aguilar might be draftable in round 7 or round 6 maybe, but he's a true late day 3 guy. For me, like for a guy that's that old, that still has the amount that he still needs to develop at this stage in his football playing career, it's just I understand the size, I understand some of the plus athleticism stuff and the arm strength and all that different kind of attributes that he brings to the table. But at 25 years old, you gotta have those traits. and you got to have the development. He doesn't have the development at this point, so I kind of doubt he's going to be able to get there within the next year or two when he really needs to. But then also in Tier 3, Chris Simms finishes his top 5 quarterbacks in this year's draft class with Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. Now, Nussmeier is definitely interesting, and I do think he's somebody that the Steelers could definitely take a look at. 24 years old, so another guy that's a little bit older, going to be asked to play pretty darn well early on in his NFL career. Bit undersized, 6'1", 205. Like, you can tell this guy's a bit undersized for an NFL starting quarterback in particular. But Nussmeier's dad, Doug, coached under Mike McCarthy for many years. They're very close. And, Mike McCarthy has known Garrett Nussmeier for many years, obviously, with him being Doug's son. And also, the Steelers apparently really liked their formal combine meeting with him in Indianapolis. And personally, I have a true round 3 grade on Nussmeier. I think that he's somebody that played a lot better in 2024. Then he was pretty much injured his entire final season at LSU with an oblique injury, and he didn't play well. He didn't want to push the ball down the field. They played super conservatively, and he eventually got benched. And it kind of gives me a lot of Sam Howell vibes here, where like he was projected top 10 pick going into the year, his final year in college, and then lackluster final season, and Sam Howell ended up going in round 5. So who knows how far Garrett Nussmeier is going to fall down. But like, I look at his profile, I think he's got, adequate arm talent. He's certainly not afraid to throw the ball down the field. I'll tell you that much. And I like his mental processing. Like, he can go through those full field progression reads when he's asked to do it. He did it at a really high level in 2024. If he would have came out last year, he's probably a first round pick, right? So the cons are he's not that big, 6'1", 205. That's not exactly what you want to see from somebody that doesn't have like a bazooka of an arm. He's turnover prone, and that's kind of the main thing that was against his profile in 2024, is that he threw a lot of interceptions then, and unfortunately that followed him into 2025. And I don't really see him as like an out of structure playmaker. Like, he can move around in the pocket a little bit, but he's not going to like go crazy out of structure outside of the pocket with a scramble or, with his legs as a runner. He's not really going to bring that. I think Garrett Nussmeier probably is like a Sam Howell level backup quarterback with maybe some starting upside. He does have starting caliber arm strength, does have some mental processing stuff that's interesting. But I would say a true round 3 grade for me when it comes to Garrett Nussmeier. Now, before we get into the honorable mentions here for Chris Simms and his quarterback rankings this year, click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. Clicking that thumbs up icon and liking the video, really does help out the show, guys. It gets the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to other Steelers fans like yourselves. And obviously, when that happens, we get more eyeballs on the channel and more people subscribe and more people like the video and all that different stuff. So if you are a longtime viewer of this channel, you guys want to help us out every time you watch one of our videos, the easiest way to do that is to click that thumbs up icon. Now, going through Simms's honorable mentions at quarterback. At QB6, he has Taylon Green from Arkansas. At QB7, he has Carson Beck from Miami. Was really complimentary of his pocket passing skill set. QB8, he has Drew Allar. He's a lot lower on Drew Allar than maybe the consensus is right now. Then Cade Klubnik at QB9 out of Clemson. Then you got Cole Payton, who is getting a lot of buzz right now, especially in Steelers circles at QB10. And then at QB11, he has Haynes King, the Taysom Hill type quarterback from Georgia Tech. So just to kind of recap what Simms's top 10 QB prospects are for this year: Fernando Mendoza in a tier of his own. Same thing goes for Ty Simpson in tier 2. In tier 3, he has Behren Morton, Joey Aguilar, and Garrett Nussmeier. Then the honorable mentions include Taylon Green, Carson Beck, Drew Allar, Cade Klubnik, and Cole Payton. Now, I will show you guys kind of my rough draft for my top 10 quarterback prospects right now based on the film I have watched, all right? There's certain guys I haven't gotten to yet. I'm still trying to get film on some of these guys. But right now, this is where I'm at. All right, Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson in the same tier at QB1 and QB2 respectively. Then there's a tier down here with Drew Allar, probably in a tier of his own at tier 2, somebody that's a developmental potential future franchise quarterback in the right situation. Then I've got guys like Garrett Nussmeier, Behren Morton, and Carson Beck that are probably more like backups in this league, but maybe have some starting level upside to them, probably more late day 2, early day 3 guys. Then Taylon Green, Cole Payton, and Haynes King are in the category for me of higher upside but really low odds bets. I just think that that those guys are athletic and, they've got some tools at their disposal, but they probably don't work out as anything more than just QB2s in the league if they make it. And then Cade Klubnik at QB10 at this point. I think he's got a smooth throwing motion, but I just don't love the film. Don't think he's consistent enough to maybe even be a QB2 at the National Football League level. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, guys. But who's your guy? Let me know down there in the comments section. Which QB prospect this year is going to surprise people the most in the NFL? Is it Behren Morton? Is it Cole Payton? Is it Taylon Green? Is it Drew Allar? Is it somebody else? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. And that'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. Of course, if you guys want more great Steelers draft content, that's what we provide for you guys every single day on this channel. So if you don't want to miss any of that, click that subscribe button today. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.